Hello friends, Jeff here, and welcome to Squadron and welcome to Facebook Live. And yes, I'm back. I'm sorry, I took off a couple Fridays. Next to my passion of modeling, I have another passion, which is motorcycles. And when I feel the need for speed, my wife and I get on the motorcycle and we take off. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Galveston in Texas, every year they organize the Lone Star Rally, and that's one of the, besides Sturgis, that's one of the biggest motorcycle rallies in the country. So 300,000-400,000, even 500,000 motorcycle riders descend on Galveston Beach, and then we hang out for a couple of days. And what do we do when we hang out? We just walk in circles. We walk in circles around the city, and then we wear our leather vests and our glasses, look tough. Well, most of us, myself included, are just a wimp. But that one day or those couple of days, we look tough. We have our leathers and all that. And then once that's done, after 3 days walking around, we get on our back, go back home, pretend that we had a good time, and then make a plan to do it all over again next year. Now, last Friday, our daughter Amanda, she is becoming a dentist. So she had a white coat ceremony, which is a beginning of the clinical stuff of her curriculum. So they get issued a lab coat, and that's kind of a ceremony with cookies and coffee, and I couldn't miss that either. So, but now I'm back, and let's talk some modeling. Now, to quote some words, or to quote John Wayne, he said, "A man's got to do what a man's got to do," and that's what I'm doing. So, now last week, Gwen and Frank, they were in their session, they were saying that maybe I should do some tips and techniques right here on live. But guys, this is very hard to do live. If you do, especially the manipulation of the camera, it's almost impossible to do tips and techniques on a live screen. So we're working on some more videos. So keep your eyes and ears out for the future. We'll do some more demos and all that kind of stuff. But I think that it was also mentioned that in the comment section you could ask a couple of questions, and maybe I could address those. So several of you guys did, and I think that's the best way to go. So I printed a couple questions off. I know there's a time limit. I can only talk so long, and then we have to move on. But I printed a few questions off, and I would like to address these. At least maybe I can solve some problems, or maybe even create more. So let's go that way. The first question is from Tim Wilding. I hope I said that right. He said, how do you make multiple overlapping bends on photo etch pieces? Hello Tim, if you're watching, if you're tuned in, good to see you. Well, actually I can't see you, but it's good to see me. Well, actually it's not good to see me. Well, let's go to the question. My answer is a blank stare, because honestly, this is the first question and I don't have an answer. Because you all know that photo etch is a little funky medium to work with, and there is no set rule how to bend or shape photo etch. Now, I know what you're asking me, but I still don't know what kind of a project you're working on. If it's like curved bends that need to be overlapped, or straight edges, or are you working in to do something conical? I don't know. I have to see what you're doing, and then maybe I can help you. But like I said, there is no set rule to work with photo etch. It's very difficult, and I'm not a big fan of photo etch. But these days, if you want to be competitive with your model, if you want to take it to the next level, you have to use it, because there are some things that cannot be reproduced in plastic. So again, it's trial and error. Now, and I'm sure you know this, many of you know this, there is something like this available, which is a photo etch tool, a bending tool. Now this is a very good one. It's from the small shop. I think we carried it in our line of products, so go to our website. But it's called the Hold and Fold. I don't know if you can see this, yeah, Hold and Fold. So we did all kind of, it's more like a press, where you can put like little pieces of photo etch under there, and then you can just bend them any shape, or any straight corner, straight edge you would do. There's also all kind of stuff that's you can fold or bend or shape photo etch. So if you work a lot with photo etch, if you really want to make a little of an investment and put this on your workbench, it's absolutely worth it. It's not, I didn't say worthless, it's absolutely worth it. It's not cheap, but if you take care of it, it will last you the rest of your life. So this is the only thing that I can advise if you have problems working with photoviz. Get one of these. It's absolutely worth it. Now, it might not be the question or the answer you're looking for, but that's all I have. Second one is Bob DiGiorno. Bob, if you're tuned in, hey. His question is, when is it best to paint, before or after assembly? Well, that's an easy question actually. You always try to build as much as possible and then paint it. Now, of course, it all depends what you're doing. If you're an airplane builder or an armor builder, there's a big difference. The airplane builders, they're always, of course, immediately stuck with the cockpit. You know, you have to build the cockpit first, and either to assemble it and to put it inside the fuselage, you have to paint the cockpit first. Other than that, once the cockpit is painted, other than that, you put the fuselage together, you put the wings on there, you can basically assemble the whole thing and paint it afterwards. Now, for an airplane, you of course leave the landing gear off, the wheel doors, the canopy, and if there is ordnance like for instance bombs or rockets or missiles, you leave those off and paint those separately and then assemble them after you're done. Armor, it's a lot easier. In armor, you can basically 95% build the whole armor piece. Even if it's a tank or a truck, you can actually build the whole thing, and you can even put the tracks on in some cases. So that's not a big deal, unless you want to leave some hatches open and you keep those separate. But the answer to your question, it's always better to paint after the assembly. Now, that raised a question, because I got that a few times, that people ask me, and especially novices, they ask me, Jeff, should I paint pieces when they're still on the sprue, like little pieces, because they're so hard to hold? And my answer is don't. You always, it's a golden and a set rule, always remove the pieces from the sprue and then paint them. Maybe you need some extra tweezers to hold them in place or something if they're really small, but always paint them after you take them off the sprue. Because let's say that you paint something, like let's say a little wheel or a propeller, and you paint it while it's on the sprue. You still have to remove it from the sprue, and if it's painted, you're going to damage the paint, and then you have to sand it, so it's going to give you double work. So always, no matter what, if it's small, big, whatever, take it off the sprue and then paint it. But coming back to the question, build as much as you can and then paint it. All right. Another question from Richard C. Gates. Hello, Richard, if you're tuned in. Thanks for the question. What is the best paint, enamel, acrylic, or oil to use for dry brushing? That's another simple one, at least for me. You know, I'm old school. I told you that a few times in the previous videos. And honestly, the best paint for dry brushing is Humbrol enamel, the little cans. Those are absolutely the best to dry brush, to me. I mean, I'm sure there are other brands out there like Testers, maybe some brands that I don't know of that are good for dry brushing, but if you want to play it safe, Humbrol is always been the best for dry brushing. Oils, same thing. If you have good oil paint like Uptaling 502, they're also very good to dry brushing, but it's a different kind of dry brushing. If you want to create streaks or you want to fade some stuff, then an oil paint is very good to do that. It's all just trial and error, but at the end of the day, bottom line, to me, my personal preference is Humbrol enamel.
Adam says, welcome back.
Hello, Adam. Good to see you. Can I say? Then we have a question of Paulo Pereira. Hey, Paulo. It was good talking to you a couple of weeks ago. You asked, do you recommend always giving a coat of varnish prior to weathering a kit? So the answer is absolutely yes. The first thing you do is, of course, you paint your model. Then you add, if there is decals on, if you have to add decals, then you put the decals, and then you cover everything with a coat of varnish. It can be any varnish. I don't know what you're building. Sometimes you build armor or you build a car or whatever. Always protect your paint if you're decided to weather your model, always protect it with a coat of varnish. Now, talking about varnish, and this is again my personal preference, and I don't want to sell anything, but this is the best thing on the market, according to me. I mean, it's Vallejo polyurethane varnish, the flat varnish. They have it in three versions. They have the flat, they have the gloss, and the satin. But I always use the matte varnish. Now this thing is absolutely the best out there. Again, personal preference. Once you apply it, you can dilute it with about 40% with thinner, and once you apply it to your model and you wait about 24 or 36 hours, you can almost do anything. You can throw any wash, any oils, any weathering you want to do. This will take it. It's also leave a nice flat finish, and I use it on airplanes and on armor, so it doesn't matter. But that's now talking about a flat coat of or a coat of varnish. Sometimes when you weather stuff and you apply all these washes and all these the oils and streaking grimes and stain fuel stains and whatnot, sometimes after you're done and you look at it, you have a couple of spots that are shiny. You know, it's like, I'm really not really happy with this, because this is a shine that I don't like there, and it doesn't look right. Shall I coat it again with to blend everything, to make everything dull again? Should I basically do another coat of varnish on top of it? The answer is absolutely not. Do not do that, because you will 95%, well not 95, but 75% of your work will be completely gone, because what it does, it's like I said, it makes it dull. So you lose all the depth perception and all the work that you put in there by applying the washes, by fading the oils, by adding the fuel stains. It will all almost go away, and you have to start over. Now the trick is just to leave it alone, because I know out of experience that sometimes I sometimes use too much thinner or too much oil or whatever, and it leaves the sheen in a spot where I don't like it. Then I just put it aside, or I just finish it and put it in my cabinet. Because if you're gonna go, if you look back maybe a month from now or 2 months from now, it starts really, all the solvents, all the oils, all the enamels will evaporate. They will slowly but steadily evaporate. You will still keep your depth perception, but all the sheens will become more dull. So eventually the problem will solve itself. So never ever ever, after you're done weathering, no matter if you're disappointed, just wait a while and give it a chance to that it rectify itself. Now, of course, if you can't live it, if you're sick to your stomach, then give it another coat of varnish, but then you have to start over. So hopefully that will answer your question. We have another question here from George Riddell. I hope I say that right. Hi George, if you tuned in. Thanks for the question. You're asking me if there is an easy way to mask the inside of a canopy for an open cockpit. Well, I don't know. There is no easy way. You have two options actually. The first one, actually two major options. The first one is, of course, when you mask the outside of the cockpit, and you buy a mask or you cut masking tape according to the what's the word? I can't come up with the word. To the pattern of your canopy, to the frame of your canopy. Then you can turn it upside down and then try to match in mirror image the same pattern. Now that is very, very difficult. I tried it a few times and I was not successful, because even if you're really careful and you try to match it exactly the same, the thickness of the plastic, if you don't position it right and you airbrush both ways and you peel the mask away, it might shift it. So when you're looking from the outside of your canopy and you're looking down, there might be a little shift that your frame on the inside shifted a little, because you can't 100% line it up. I don't know if I make myself clear, but it's very, very difficult to mask a canopy from the inside, especially when there's a lot of framework going on. Now, if you're talking about a P-51 Mustang and you have the bubble canopy, that shouldn't be that difficult to do. But if you're talking about more like a Messerschmitt or any World War II aircraft with a lot of framework, that's going to be hard to do. Now, a trick to this is, there is a little trick, and I tried it several times and it works for me, especially on smaller scale airplanes. Now, when you mask your canopy from the outside, when you put your mask on and everything is ready to airbrush, then let's say that you airbrushed your cockpit already in interior green and you have already that color. So you want the same color on the inside of your canopy. So the trick is, and it's actually not a trick, it's basically very simple. Before you start applying the outside paint of your aircraft, either it's olive drab or it's gray or it's silver, apply the first coat on your canopy interior green, the same color that you used for your cockpit. So because then on top of it you can do the final color of your airplane. So when you look, so basically the first color that touches the canopy will be the interior color. So already it's automatically painted in an interior green. It might be a little bit shiny because of the plastic, but at least you have an exact representation from the outside. So when you peel the mask off and you look through your cockpit, inside you will have interior green, and on the outside you have the actual color of your airplane, and that works pretty well. There might be, like I said, there might be some glossy spots that you might have to maybe with a brush put some flat, a coat of flat varnish over it, so just to dull the shininess of the plastic. But that's the easiest way and the best way to have a perfect match to color your canopy on both ways, on both sides actually. So then I think it's the last question that we have, because we're really running out of time, is from Mike Bartlett. Hey Mike, if you're tuned in, good that you're there. That was dumb. Anyway,
it's Friday.
Thanks for tuning in. What is the best way to fill injection marks and not lose any details? Well, we all been there. We all know about the pesky ejection marks that are there. Usually it's in a wheel well or on the sidewall of a cockpit, and it's hard to reach, and you don't want to get in there. How do you fix that? Well, not easy again, but the best way to fix that is with a water-based putty. Now, these days, if you look at Tamiya especially, those ejection marks, they're very faint, and you can easily, sometimes even when you scrape them or scrape them a little bit with a round knife, you get most of it off without even sanding. But if they're really deep and you really have to fill a hole, then the best thing to do is using milliput, because the milliput is water-based and it won't eat into the plastic. Now there are a couple ways to do this. You can easily use putty, like our putty, the Squadron putty, or Tamiya putty, or you can use any other thing. But any putty that contains toluene or acetone, it will eat your plastic. And if you apply the putty, you have to be really quick to put it in place, or you're going to smear it all over the place, and there's no way to get it back off without damaging some kind of detail. But if you use milliput and you push it in place, and then you use the back of an X-Acto knife, and you try to really scrape it flush, and then the excess you can wash off with water. First of all, you will never damage anything. The putty will never eat into the plastic, and you can do it time and time again without ruining any detail, as long as you're satisfied and everything is flashed and sanded. So milliput is the way to go. Honestly, I use milliput for a lot of things, but also for a gap fill 4 or 5 hours, and you can sand it really smooth. So milliput is the way to go. So okay. Hopefully I was able to answer some of your questions, or at least add to what you already knew. Now we're going to do it's time for our drawing, I guess. So we're going to do our drawing. Now I have a little bit of a problem. Last week, Gwen and Frank, they held up a Mini Art Lee. For some reason, that kit disappeared. We looked everywhere. We put it on the site just for that, but we can't find it. So we're going to replace this. And actually, guys, this is a lot better choice. Again, personal preference. but I'd rather build this kit than the Lee. We're going to raffle this off. So all the guys that left a comment last week, we have in a bag here, and I have Natasha to lend her arm, and please go on in. All right, here we go. And the lucky winner is Bob Del Giorno. Well, Bob, if you're watching this, this is yours. Please let us know through the help desk. Call our customer service so we can get your address. If you're a customer of ours, I'm sure we'll have your address. We'll get this out to you. But if not, just to make sure, please call customer service or let me know.
Nathan says, "Nice bag."
Oh, nice. Oh, the bullshit bag. Yeah, I said it. So okay. So now, for the next drawing, we're gonna do another mini arc kit. The bulldozer, really nice kit. It's one of the newer ones. So we're gonna raffle that off. So the question that I would like to ask you is, when did the Battle of the Bulge start? I would like to know the exact date of when the Battle of the Bulge took place. So if you could put that in your comment section, then your name goes into the raffle, and then next week you'll be the lucky winner of this wonderful kit. So that is about it for now. This is what it is. I'm hungry. I want to go and have. I'm gonna go to a paparazzi place, and I'm gonna have a hero. Not that anybody cares, but anyway, I'm hungry. I want to get out of here.
Bob says, "Thank you."
Okay. Oh, Bob. Okay, no problem. So where was I? Oh yeah, eating pizza.
Time for food.
Okay. Now, the only thing I have to do is, again, go to our website at Squadron.com, look for some stuff. Also, don't forget to tell your friends and your family and everybody you know to share this, to subscribe, either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Please do so. I need your help. I want to be out there. I want to be keep talking. Also, we have, as I mentioned, and at least until the first of the year, we have our little pop-up shop at the building here every Saturday from 9 to 3. It's open, so we try to rotate our products every week. And if you don't find anything, just ask the guy at the cash register, and we'll pull it out of the warehouse for you, or bring a list and we'll look it up, or bring it to you while you browse our shop. So please, 9 to 3, pay us a visit if you live in the Dallas area. And other than that, that's all I have to say. Did I forget something?
I don't think
Did
so.
I forget something?
No.
Again, I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week at 12 o'clock Central Time. Jeff E. here, signing off.